Welcome back, chess kids. It is the YouTube video you've been waiting for. How to beat Magnus Carlsen using the lessons on ChessKid. Now, Magnus, if you're watching, I'm really sorry I have to spill the beans. It's time. It's time, buddy. I'm sorry. I can only hold out for so long. It's going to take 5 different ChessKid lessons to beat Magnus Carlsen. And today, I'm not your teacher. Oh, no. Today, your teacher is Grandmaster Richard Rapport. Never heard of him? Well, today, he takes down Magnus using 5 ChessKid lessons. Now, take a look at our position here. Richard Rapport is white, Magnus is black, and you can already see the first lesson on display. Magnus has a passed pawn. What are the best blockaders in chess? Knights are, because they can still hop around and do their thing. They're not blocked in by a pawn. So, of course, Richard Rapport knew that. So, lesson number 1, blockading. Now, lesson number 2 was about controlling the center. And an extension of that is the snowplow. Let's see what Richard does on the next 2 moves. First, he plays f4. Yeah, he had my written permission, okay? The knight had to run away. Now, he doesn't quite have the traditional snowplow of the E and the D pawns, but he has the F and the E pawns, and these 2 pawns right here, they control all of these center squares. And oh baby, those pawns are about to go places. So lesson number 2 was about controlling the center. Now, Magnus already really did not like his position, and he decided to actually allow the fork and go for counterplay because, he doesn't have any of that control of the center with the pawns. So he played rook over to e8, and of course, lesson number 3, you already figured this one out. Richard Rapport goes, bang! I have no idea how you say fork in Hungarian, but I do know how to say it on the chessboard. That is a fork, my friends. The pawn, of course, is going to win the queen or the knight. Now, Magnus saw this, but thought he was going to get some counterplay by sacrificing a knight for 2 pawns. And after knight takes, pawn takes, rook takes, now black has 2 pawns for the piece. Black's rook is on an open file. The king is a little bit open because Richard did move his f-pawn, but Richard's got 2 more ChessKid lessons awaiting the world champion. So first, he plays rook b6. Okay, now I'm not going to count this as a lesson, but he is trying to play old man chess. Okay, we don't actually have a lesson called old man chess. We do have one about trading. In this position, if queen takes, of course, queen takes rook, and it amounts to a fancy trade. But Magnus knows not to trade when he's behind. Magnus plays queen e7, building up a battery and threatening the move rook to e1. Now, Richard plays an in-between move. We have a lesson on that, but we're not going to count that as lesson number 4. He just plays a check. Now, the only way for black to get out of check without losing the queen is to block with the knight, and it looks like rook e1 check is still a threat, winning the queen. Now, remember, we have this lesson on ChessKid called Ignoring the Threat. That's lesson number 4 from our hero today. He completely ignores rook to e1 and plays bishop to c6. Now, that is putting pressure on the pinned piece, but I'm not even counting that as a ChessKid lesson. Really, it's ignoring the threat. Not much that black can do in this position because rook takes knight is simply going to win the queen. And where does your queen go to continue guarding the knight? I don't really know. You could play something really passive like queen f8, but then your pieces just don't do anything. In fact, if you did play the move queen f8, I think white could just play a move like queen a8, and yeah, that knight is a goner. Now we really have PP on the PP. So, what did Magnus do? He won a queen. But Richard saw this coming. After takes and takes, he blocked with a knight, and in this position, there's nothing stopping white from being able to just play rook takes. Now you might say, but Fun Master Mike, after king over, then after takes, it amounted to a giant trade. Yes, but that serves in white's favor. Simplifying to win. Simplifying to win. That is our 5th ChessKid lesson. Richard saw that by giving away his queen at the outset, he was forced to win back the queen later and reach an endgame like this, which is super easy to win. This pawn is hanging, this knight is still stuck from going to d2, the king is going to walk in and gobble up the d pawn, which was black's only counterplay. Very, very simple for Richard to win. So in fact, if we go back to this position, there's simply no way that Magnus can stay in the game and also prevent his queen from being lost. So it's a magical position that Richard went on to win. In fact, this is it. This is a resign time right now. Magnus resigned in this position. So it did take Richard 5 different ChessKid lessons to beat Magnus Carlsen, but you know what? It actually takes a lot more. I only showed you 5. But wait, there's more. I have it on good authority that Richard must be a ChessKid user because he used another one of my ideas. Of course, I think you realize, as one of the top 10 players in the world, I'm kidding, I'm really using his ideas, but take a look at this bonus position I've got for you here. Here, Richard ignored the threat on his rook again. Actually, there's not much he could do to save his rook, but he played rook to e5. Now, why did he do this? Because after his rook was captured, and it was, then he used my lesson on 10 fancy checkmates. Of course, it only takes one checkmate to win a game, so he used 1/10 of my lesson? Okay, I hope to be 10% of the player Richard is, and he played the hook mate. What did that start with? Bang! Queen h3, giving up the queen. Now, of course, if the king goes back, it becomes a standard mate. You could do back rank, you could do queen and helper mate. But kudos to White, who was a grandmaster and allowed him to finish it off. A lot of grandmasters here would just resign as White. The grandmaster playing White played king takes queen, and now we have our classic hook mate. Rook to h5, that's why his rook came up and over, by the way. Rook lift, another ChessKid lesson. King back, and then rook takes h2, and everything is perfect. The knight guards the rook does all the heavy lifting, the pawn guards the knight guards the escape square. I think it's one of the prettiest checkmates in chess, because those three pieces work perfectly together. So, can you play chess as well as Richard Rapport? Well, if you can, you might just get to beat the world champion one day. Use those ChessKid lessons, and you never know where your chess will take you.